Well, happy Friday leading into the May bank holiday. I hope the sun is shining where you are. It's absolutely beautiful on the Isle of Wight. Um, it's not very often I live stream on other platforms other than TikTok. And I've been doing a lot of work recently on on my own dyslexia and managing my own dyslexia. I've recently also got a diagnosis of ADHD. And I've realized that potentially I need to be a bit more strategical with my business, but also I need to be doing more things that make me feel slightly uncomfortable. So live streaming onto various platforms at the same time for sure makes me feel a little bit sick to my stomach in terms of the tech and pushes me out of my comfort zone. So that is my reason for doing this very quick live stream this afternoon. But also I wanted to share some of what I've been up to and some of my thoughts around neurodivergence and dyslexia and kind of a bit about what's been going on for me and my business. And I think it's really interesting because recently I've had quite a lot of messages across social media from people really disappointed that they've had workplace coaching, that they've had coaching, that they've had an assessment, but that their dyslexia is still there. Like nothing seems to be making it disappear. So the accessibility software is for sure kind of improving it or making it easier, but it's not necessarily making it kind of go away. And I think the thing is, it's interesting because as I've just said, I've just got my diagnosis of ADHD too. And I think sometimes we're looking for answers that don't exist. So if we're neurodivergent, we're always going to be neurodivergent, and we have to learn to accept that and live with that. And that means that things are always going to be tricky. So when it comes to like accessibility software or putting interventions or strategies in place, those strategies and interventions for sure can minimize the impact of neurodivergence, but you're never going to get rid of it completely because it's who you are. So for me personally, I'm discovering myself and with the people I'm working with, there's almost like layers of acceptance when it comes to neurodivergence. And it's almost like, we could accept it to a certain point, but then something else comes along, throws a bit of a spanner in the works, and we're almost like back to the beginning in terms of working out how to cope with that neurodivergence. The other thing is I think it's about sustainability. So recently I've done a little run of assessments for adults who have all got promotions or have started off in companies, have worked in companies for a really, really, really long time, kind of left school with very few qualifications and have gone into a job, have never been unemployed, but have worked in the same company and have worked their way up to becoming a manager. And then all of a sudden, it's like their dyslexia is really evident or really prominent and imposter syndrome's kicking in. And they're suddenly doubting their ability or whether they can do a job. And when we've unpicked it, the thing that has actually changed or the thing that has made the difference isn't the managerial role. It's the fact that that role comes with a load of paperwork and a load of literacy-based stuff, which is the very thing we were trying to escape when we were at school. So for sure, there are things we can do to minimize the impact, but I think there's also an element of accepting that if you want to be in that role, it is going to be hard. So then it's about sustainability. Like we can sustain that effort for a certain amount of time, but if we're not careful, we get to the point where we are entirely burnt out. So it's quite interesting. I've had quite a few conversations with people in the last couple of weeks about that. Like I say, quite a few assessments from people that are doubting their ability because they've got new jobs. They think they've got their dream job, and suddenly that dream job is becoming super duper challenging. I think the other thing is that kind of the more kind of, I guess, the higher up you get, potentially the more literacy-based things you have to do if you're dyslexic. So the more visible your dyslexia becomes, there are less places to hide. And I think when most people with dyslexia, even people that manage it really successfully, we do all we can to minimize the impact of dyslexia. We don't necessarily want people to know how we really feel all the time. And potentially when we're doing something new, or when we're suddenly in that new role that's really exposing our dyslexia, it's really visible, and that is really difficult to cope with, hence peeling off another layer of acceptance in terms of learning to live with the fact that it's there again, and you're going to have to accept that people are going to pick you up on your literacy skill, or that things are, have to be done in a certain way, or find another job. So I've had some really interesting conversations talking about visibility, different meaning of visibility now. When we talk about neurodivergence, ADHD perhaps in particular, I shared a post this week, I did a post for TikTok this week, where I talked about how actually ADHD has a bit of a dark side, a side that is a little bit scary, if I'm honest. People don't really talk about. And I had two really beautiful, lovely conversations with professionals who are really high functioning in the world of ADHD, and we've had some brilliant conversations about how ADHD perhaps actually impacts us, because perhaps to an everyday person it doesn't look like it's impacting. Like you can put a front up to a certain extent, but actually it's that low level things like organizing yourself, getting yourself out of the house, making sure that you've got everything you need. Like quite often that is where ADHD can show up. And it's that low level anxiety that's there all the time, that again, if we work for ourselves, we can manage for short periods of time because we're in control of it. But if you are working in an institution or with somebody in a big company, it's much more difficult to keep that. It's much more difficult to keep that hidden. So there's something to be said for actually choosing when it's visible and when it's not visible, and feeling in control of that. Which leads me on to my next thing about visibility. I have received a couple of really interesting messages, emails in my inbox. So now videos are kind of search engine optimized. You can watch videos from kind of any platform by Googling them. And somebody had obviously found me accidentally by Googling me, and they took great delight in telling me that everything I was saying was absolutely wrong. And I have no issue with being challenged. I definitely don't claim to know everything, but you can't unvalidate somebody's experience, somebody's lived experience. If that's how somebody feels, that's how they feel. And that led me to thinking that actually it takes real courage to be seen and to be visible, and to, particularly as a professional, I think, to kind of share the darker side of neurodiversity, the struggles, the things that we find difficult, to kind of put yourself out there. And you are in a vulnerable position if you're visible, because people can see you, people can find you. And I find it really interesting that quite often, people that will criticize you or troll you, they're not even posting anything where their faces even be seen. They're not brave enough to have an opinion on it. So being visible is an interesting one. In terms of what I've been up to professionally, I'm super excited because I'm doing another conference on the Isle of Wight in November, which is just fantastic. And we actually sold a third of the tickets on the early bird, which is just amazing. We've got Dr. Helen Ross, Fintan O'Regan, Kat Edel, and Georgina Durrant joining us for what is going to be a fantastic day. The title of the conference is called So What Now? The feedback from the Senkos and the educational staff that came last year was they really wanted practical solutions to things. So I've tried to source speakers that are going to be able to give us solutions to things. I'm really excited about hosting another conference. again, there was a bit of me that it was super successful last time, and I doubted my ability for a minute, that old imposter, like, was it a one-hit wonder? Could I possibly kind of recreate it? But I decided that we would give it a go. So we're back for a second year. So we've still got a long way to go in terms of completely selling out. But the fact that we've sold a third of the tickets on early bird is absolutely incredible. And the other thing that I just wanted to share with you is, after the huge success of the online challenge I did in February called Own Your Dyslexia in 4 weeks, we are relaunching it, and the doors are opened again, and we will be starting it again in June. So you can sign up for it and purchase it at any point, kind of do the pre-work. There is a little bit of pre-work to do. But I am really excited about delivering this challenge again. It had such incredible feedback and such brilliant results. 2 people that did it in particular, their visibility and their confidence in terms of their businesses and how they're managing and owning their dyslexia, they're like almost unrecognizable. It's a self-led program. So what's brilliant about this is literally all of the tutorials, all of the tools are emailed directly into your inbox. There's no actual call with me to turn up to. It's kind of literally, it's drip fed into your email sort of every couple of days, the activities and the tools, and it talks you through how to own your dyslexia. You know, it's a combination of all the things I've learned as a professional, as an assessor, working with people with dyslexia, but it's also a lot of how I manage dyslexia in myself. So yeah, exciting time. So if you want to know more about that, do drop me a DM or have a look at the page. It is all over the page. But yes, exciting times. So I think I've run out of things to say there. There's been no questions, which kind of doesn't surprise me, because actually we are 4:20 on the Friday before bank holiday and the sun's shining, and I'm sure everybody is outside, which was kind of why I decided to do this live now, because I thought it was sort of a safe time to do it where not many people will be around. But yeah, did it, nailed it, did a live across platforms. No idea if it's actually showing on platforms. I think I clicked the right boxes from what I can see. But have a really great bank holiday weekend. And if you are interested in working with me, wanting to know more about kind of the content creation and stuff that I do, please do drop me a DM, because we would love to chat. But yeah, have a great weekend, and you never know, I might attempt one of these again one day.